All right, so we're going to go into plans, and all right, so in the lesson plan, there are a couple of levels. So right now, this is what's called the unit level. This is information that the teacher would enter. You can see this unit is on Habitats of Georgia. It could be on a numbers and operations concept, but this will be where a teacher gives an overview, identifies the standards that are going to be taught, possibly the time frame. The teachers do have the option to show or hide other features here. So this particular portion of the page is going to look different from course to course and grade level to grade level, but that unit view is always going to be kind of a broad, larger overview of what's happening, not necessarily a day-to-day. It might be over several days or several weeks. And then when you come down below that, sometimes this might be collapsed, so parents just need to know, and students will teach them how to do that, that anything that's hyperlinked in blue, they're going to want to expand and take a look at. So I can see right here that for this particular date, week 1, we're going to be exploring the 5 regions of Georgia and their habitats. Here's the standards we're going to be learning about. If you hover over the little bubble, then it will actually show the standards. And then there are resources and activities. So the resources and activities over here actually end up being something students need to view or look at, something that they need to do. It could be an assignment, it could be homework, as you can see labeled here. This will be things that the teachers put in their lesson plans, but then are needed to be accessible by students. We'll explore some of those in just a minute. And then you can see here, we're going into week 2, so there's a little bit of an overview, again, the standards and the tasks and the resources. Now, a teacher's lesson plan is going to include all of this information and then some. They're only going to make visible to students what's important for students to see, to have access to, and to be able to complete. Under resources and activities, for example, here's a page that's been created. So this teacher created a resource page that has resources that the students are going to need to come back to ongoing throughout that particular week's activity. So, for example, here is an assignment on regions of Georgia that they might need to access, but the materials that they need to complete that might be here in this page. So maybe there's a video here that they need to look at, or they might have to go to a website to learn more about something. All of those things are going to be really engaging for kids and really kind of draw them in. Some of them may be things that they have to do independently, and a teacher would put directions in order for them to understand that. Or this may be resources that they need to access while they're on a Microsoft Teams or a Zoom session engaging with the teachers. You might tell them, go to your Habitats of Georgia page and go to this assignment here, or go to this graphic here. This is what we're going to talk about. So that would be kind of the pass-through of information where they would normally be in a classroom and maybe give them a handout or a magazine. Now this is how they get that exchange of information. Could be videos linked, and those would be viewable right there on the screen. They can navigate through resources by clicking the button, or maybe they don't need that resource next, so they exit out of it. Teachers can engage in discussion with students. So here, the teacher's asking a question: what differences would you expect between the coast of Georgia and the mountains of Georgia? How would those differences impact the types of plants and animals that live there? And the student would simply click on Start a New Thread and would type his or her answer there, and then it would go to the teacher and whomever else was part of that group discussion. Exit tickets are something that we use a lot in the classroom, so a teacher might have an exit ticket as a summary for a lesson. This one's already been completed. There was a rubric attached to it where the teacher graded it, and it was scored. Down here would actually be the answer file for them. If a child, in some cases, may not be able to actually read all of the information, then there are some tasks that can be created with what's called an immersive reader that helps read some of that information to a student. That will be important for some of our students that maybe have a 504 or an IEP that might need that accommodation. So there's a lot that can be embedded in here into a teacher's lesson plan. That's one of the things that I think we're going to see evolve over time as we get used to using this resource. It'll be new to teachers and to parents and to students. So there's a lot of capabilities within the platform. We're just scratching the surface. So as we all get familiar with it, I think that our kids are going to have exposure to some really engaging things as we move forward. Another view for students maybe going through and navigating through this is a little challenging for them. So they have the option to view in calendar, and I'm actually going to go back because it's going to bring you to the week that you're currently on, and that lesson plan was, I believe, for the 31st. So they have the option to look at this by calendar view. So if they do view calendar, then you can see now we're looking at their math lesson plans and their science lesson plan. So we're looking at multiple courses here. To get back to the main plan, you just click the little arrow. It took me a minute to find that little arrow when I first started playing around with this. So that's an important feature to know that if you're going the long way around to get to something, there's typically an easier way to get there. Another place for students to access assignments is going to be through the resource folder. This is something that's going to be ongoing for them. So if it's easier for them to see things in a list, then they have access to that information by just clicking into the resource folder.